Konnichiwa, Dokusha no minasama, and welcome back to PJL Books. Today, on the A of Z of Japan, we are at H, and today's H is Hourensou. Well, this is weird, you might think. What is this? Surely there are bigger H to fry, such as, I don't know, Hello Kitty, hygiene, or Hiroshima. But I've gone for the more abstract Hourensou here for several reasons. Number one, for variety, mix up some of the greatest hits with some of the B-sides. Number two, don't worry, I'm going to be making multiple passes on the A to Z, so I'm going to come back. Like Agent Smith, Hello Kitty is inevitable. And third, despite being quite an unknown entity to the foreign community, Hourensou is a pretty important concept in the Japanese workplace. So what is it? Well, Hourensou is a portmanteau of three Japanese words. Those words are Hokoku, meaning report, Renraku, meaning contact, and finally Sodan, meaning consult. Some envisaged it as a Venn diagram, some as a cycle. However you link them, the three are very closely intertwined here into a very important buzzword that means, well, report, contact, consult. Consider, for example, a project that a manager wants done. What do you expect will happen? If you're thinking that the manager will have a meeting with subordinates to give out the details, what's expected, and when the deadline is, then the subordinates go and work on that project, then hand it in by the deadline, then you are thinking Western style business. Think about it. That style of business is very independent. It's neither right or wrong, but it is not the Japanese style because it is not Hourensou. Now let's replay that scenario with our Japanese goggles on. The manager wants a project done. The employee will work on it up to a degree, maybe an initial draft, and then, yep, you guessed it, report on the progress so far to the manager. The manager then gives advice and asks for amendments. The employee takes the project away again, bouncing ideas off of peers. In other words, she makes contact with other employees to assist in the project. And now, armed with all this new advice and a beefed up project, she returns to the manager to consult the changes. So, job done? Not quite. The Hourensou may begin again for a fresh cycle if necessary, and will keep cycling until the project is completed. Sounds complicated? Well, it is, at least to the uninitiated. For most Japanese, however, Hourensou is just second nature, having been impressed upon them since elementary school. Their homeroom classes, when they talk about the day's events and class-related stuff like, whoever gets to feed the turtle next has its own little sprouts of Hourensou showing. At its heart, it's basically teamwork on steroids, keeping everyone who should be in the know informed of every single stage of the process, absorbing input and constantly bouncing ideas off of one another until the end product. The plus points? Well, the end product will likely be far more superior to that done the Western way. The here's the details, let me know when you finish approach may get results quicker, but may not yet yield the results the manager has in mind, as some practical difficulties arise midway through a project that the manager didn't envisage. But guess what? The employees never report on this and they push on their own, all gung-ho and independent-like. The Japanese style has at least kept everyone informed every step of the way, so every angle has been analysed, buffed and polished. So if the Japanese project fails completely, it's much easier to wash your hands of responsibility. It was a team effort after all. The minus points? Well, as you might have guessed, the whole process gets completely drawn out. The phrase "too many cooks spoil the broth" has a Japanese version. I can't recall what it is, but it doesn't seem to really take place in the Japanese office, because even seemingly minor bits of work may pass many pairs of hands and eyes before landing on a manager's desk. Such a process may make project building more bulletproof to errors, but it's woefully inefficient. Also, it sucks the life and spontaneity out of a project at times. A singular person's vision may be bold and daring, but impractical. Passed around 2 or 3 people, it may lose a bit of its pizzazz a bit, but gain more in terms of practical use, right? But pass it around 10 people Hourensou style and the project becomes bland and dull, covering all the bases, losing all sense of personality as everyone pushes their fingerprints on it. But, as I said, neither approach is right nor wrong. And do all the Japanese follow Hourensou? Of course not, no more than I unfairly bracketed Western companies as being independent. This is, if anything, yet another one of those classic indicators that says a lot about Japanese society, how it operates and thinks, and what its strengths and weaknesses are. Am I reading too much into it? I don't think so, because I draw the line at the fact that the word Hourensou also means spinach in Japanese. And that's it for today's A to Z of Japan. Thank you very much for listening, readers. This is on my blog. The description below has the link. So if you'd like to read this and many more blog posts, please follow that link below. Thank you very much for listening and see you next time. Sayonara.